All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting episode of Daily December 2021. This is day 26. We are nearing the end, folks. Um, I want to talk about something today that has been weighing really heavily on me since basically since Christmas Eve. Um, and it's actually the reason my Christmas Eve video happened so late. So, um, if anyone remembers the song "Dance to the Music" by Sly and the Family Stone, I love this song. I really do. I think it's an amazing song. I think it's super fun. I love my absolute favorite part is they've got everybody in the band. Like they basically there's this thing that happens. At least it used to happen with jazz bands when I was in them. Is you would have a what was called a feature song. Or I guess I called it a feature song. I've heard people call it a bunch of different things, but basically what it was a song where every section, or if it was a smaller group, every person would have their own little spot where the person in the front of the band could sit there and go, and that's Fleeble Smart on the sousaphone. And then they go do something. And you go through the entire band. I used to do it in the jazz combos I was in. To me, Sly and the Family Stone's Dance to the Music is the perfect feature song. Because what it is, it starts off and every single member of the band gets their own thing, you know. All you all you need is drama. For people who only need a beat. And you go choo choo boom 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 choo 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 choo. And the bass comes in. I'm gonna bring a little low in. And then boo doo 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 doo. I'm gonna play a little guitar. And it's like every little person gets their thing. So I was singing this song because that's what I did to do when I'm by myself, is I sing. Um, and I started imagining how I would arrange the song in the old jazz combo that I was in high school. And what ended up happening was I got so excited about how cool it would have been to play that song. Because the jazz combo I was in high school, I was actually part of a couple different ones. But the one that I was most proud to be a part of um, was it was me and three dudes named Alex. And so we just used their last names for the most part. And I'm not going to use their last names, not going to call them out. But anyway, we had one dude that he was an alto sax. I was on tenor sax and vocals. That's actually where I started singing jazz. And then we had another Alex on bone. And then we had another Alex who was on drums. And then we had a rhythm section. We had John on the bass, and who was our keyboards? Is it Rachel? It was on keyboards. It might have been Rachel on keyboards. I can't remember 100%. Um, but we were really tight, and it was mostly because um, uh, two of the Alexes and I that year, I was a junior in high school. Two of the Alexes and I, for my first for the fall semester, they had an independent study in jazz improvisation during eighth period, and I had study hall did it during eighth period. And I found out very quickly that if I stayed in the study hall room for study hall, I wanted to gouge my eyes out. It was horrible. Study hall was really bad. The teacher that ran that particular study hall didn't allow any talking. Didn't allow like it was detention is what it was, and he treated it like that. You work on your homework or you sit there with your head down. Okay. This is not the time to goof off. No reading unless it's for homework. And it was just horrible. Well, I was a band geek, and most teachers were terrified of the band hallway because they were terrified that if they went down there, they might actually have to deal with one of these classes that would have like our wind ensemble had like 60 some odd kids in it. Concert band had quite a few bit more. Like we had like concert band was the freshman group. So basically, the entire freshman class, if you played an instrument, you were in that band. So it was like 80 to 100 pieces. Wind ensemble was the audition only band. So yeah, like if you went into the band hallway, you were fine. And so I started just hanging out in the band room instead of going to study hall, which was completely allowed. Like I just had to sign in the band room, and they were fine with it. And after a little while, what the two Alexes would do is they would take out their instruments and they would actually pull out records because we had records. And I'm not that old. That was just that was our band teachers. He had vinyl of a lot of amazing stuff, and we also had CDs and stuff like that. Like we had a really really nice sound system in there. So we'd take out records and he'd play with them, and then they took out CDs and they'd play with them. And then they had this book, which was just, I think it was like a dozen different jazz, just jazz standards. And it had an accompaniment CD. And basically, this the book itself was, you had a you had an 8-bar intro, and then you had a solo section that went on forever, and then an 8-bar outro. And that was how every one of these songs went. And so for them to study improvisational jazz, that's what they did. They sat there, and for an hour a day, 5 days a week, it did nothing but live and play jazz music. And I was just in there, and I listened to them, and I thought it was really cool because they were two of probably the strongest musicians in the school. They were seniors in that point, and they'd been good their entire career. I think one of them was actually one of our drum majors. He was a section leader. He was really amazing. And so after a couple weeks of me just sitting there going, "Wow, guys, it's really cool." Our teacher, Mr. Henninger, our teacher goes, "Well, Jody, why don't you get out your sax?" I said, "Well, I'm really not that good," because I had huge self-esteem issues, despite the fact that I had been playing jazz since the 6th grade, and I got into an audition-only jazz band when I was in 6th grade. I still didn't consider myself very good, and especially when compared to these two, who were just doing these amazing licks and things that made no sense to me at the time. And Mr. Henninger is just like, "You know what? Just do it. That's how you learn jazz, is you just do it." I said, "Okay, I guess." And I said, "But it's their independent study. I'm just in study hall." And the two Alexes are like, "Yeah, just get the hell over here. Come on." So I got out my sax and I started learning jazz improvisation. I'd already learned the theory behind it, just from playing jazz for so long, but it just never clicked with me. And yeah, for 6 months, or not 6 months, I get 4 months. For 4 months, that's what I did. Hour a day, 5 days a week. That's all we did, was we came in and we played music. And I went from someone that I used to solo on a fairly regular basis, but it was really limited stuff. Like I was not that phenomenal a solo jazz soloist or improviser. And I went from someone that was really, really really shy about my playing, and despite the fact that I was always asking for solos, I always felt like a fraud. And I went from that to this really confident in my musical playing, really competent jazz musician. And it was the most amazing thing ever, because I got to know the two Alexes on from a musical perspective so well that when their independent study was over the next semester, we decided, because we worked together so well, and we knew each other so well, we'd start a jazz combo. Which, starting a jazz combo is the easiest thing in the world. You literally, the only thing you need for a jazz combo is a bass, someone that can play drums. It's nice to have someone on keyboards, but it's not necessary, and then someone to play a horn. So you can start a jazz combo with 3 people. Generally, they're between 4 and 5, depending on how many horns you have and whether or not you have a keyboards player. But we had a 7-piece, I think 7. There's 3 of us. Oh no, we had a 6-piece combo, which is a little bit bigger than most. And yeah, basically what happened when we started up the combo that winter was Mr. Henniger just opened up the music library for us, which was really big. We had a phenomenal music library. One of our band directors was on the board for the Music Educators Association of Wisconsin, and so he constantly got sheet music from different publishers and things like that they would want him to critique and figure out if it was something that he would recommend and things like that. So we just had tons and tons of music, and so yeah, we would go in there and we'd pick out these things, and very quickly we started realizing that none of the arrangements fit us, and Mr. Henry goes, okay, then change them. And we'd never been allowed to do that before. And he's like, you guys are a combo. Do whatever you want. Like, you take this part, you take this part. That is what being a combo is. You don't need music. The music just makes it easier for you to learn this as a songs. But you guys do whatever you want. And we did. And we developed this kind of shorthand with each other. Where we knew what alto Alex would do, we knew what trombone Alex would do, and they knew what I liked to do, and we just went to town, and we had so much fun. There really is no experience like creating something with another person. I've never experienced anything like what happened in that combo. And the next year, I had my own jazz combo, and I ran a Dixieland combo, and it was still good, and it was still super fun. But there will be nothing that ever replaces what I had with this combo, because we knew each other so well that during one of the performances, we only had one like real performance. There was a jazz concert at the end of the year where the middle school jazz would come up and they'd play some stuff, and then the jazz band for the high school would play in it, and we would serve food and drinks. Like, it was just really like we basically create our own jazz club in the cafeteria at this school. And our teacher's like, yeah, you guys can play. And live during the concert, we had this one song, and I can't even remember which one it was, but it's a standard, like everybody knows it, that's been playing jazz for any amount of time. And we're playing it, and the way that we generally would do things is we would start off very similar to how those books were thing, where we'd have 8 to 16 bars of intro, and then we'd kind of we'd vamp and stuff, and we'd let each other solo and stuff like that. Well, this one song we knew so well, and we knew each other so well, that we just all started improvising together. It started with Alex on alto, just going to town, and then he nodded over. I mean, we each had our own individual solos, and then Alex was going the last, and he nodded over to the bone player, and bone player starts going, and he starts, and they're going perfectly together, and then alto turns over to me and kind of nods, and I get my tenor out, and we start going, and we were completely making up everything we were doing, all at the same time. None of it. I mean, we'd rehearsed the song 100 times before, but everything we were playing was entirely just flowing out of us completely improvised, not planned or anything like that, beyond the fact that we knew we were going to do this. And it turned out amazing. We would harmonize with each other just randomly, because we just all knew each other that well. And there is no high that can match that feeling of connecting with another human being, while you are literally creating art. And as we were doing it, like, the crowd was loving us the entire night. But as we're sitting there, we basically had a jam session in front of, 70, 80 people. Because we didn't have massive. This was our little jazz club. We had this jam session in front of, 60, 70 some odd people. And they were loving it. Like, the crowd was going nuts, and we were just feeding off their energy and feeding off our own energy, and it was just this incredible experience. And it has been well over a decade since I've had anything near that kind of an experience. And so what happened when I was thinking about this Sly and the Family Stone song was like, wow. And then, if we were ever to get the band back together, Alex could play here, and then this Alex could play there, and then this and this and this. And I was coming up with all these things in my head, and it was like, and here's the fun thing about my anxiety and my panic disorder. My anxiety has gotten so bad that anytime my pulse starts to rise, beyond, like, my resting heart rate is anywhere between about 98 to 102 beats per minute. So I'm technically in a permanent tachycardia, which is not an enjoyable experience. But as soon as I start doing something that gets my heart beating faster than that, my body freaks out and thinks I'm in a life or death situation, and immediately floods my system with adrenaline, and I have a full-blown panic attack. And that's what happened. I was just listening to a song and thinking about how I would arrange it for a jazz combo I played in over a decade ago. And I had a full-blown panic attack, got myself really, really sick, had a full-on food poisoning hit me. And I had to sleep most of the day to get rid of it. And it really upset me because I miss creating with other people. D&D is about as close as I could get to that, because you get to interact with other people, and during good sessions you really do get to kind of create with other people. But a lot of times D&D is turn-based, to use the exact right phrase, where I will create something as the DM, and then the players will create something, and then I will. And so you take turns doing things, but it's not a simultaneous creation. Things like acting is like that a lot when you're with your scene partner, and you really, really get into the scene, and like it's magic. And like I said, making music is magic, and it's amazing, and I really, really miss it more than anything else in the world. More than being able to go outside, more than being able to work. As weird as it sounds, I hated my job in retail. I absolutely despised it. And I will guarantee you, part of the reason I'm as damaged as I am is because retail fucking killed me. It is a horrible place. But I miss being in a place where I was good at something, and I miss being able to make my own money. I really do. So, but more than any of that, I miss creating with people. I miss that interaction, that connection that you had. So one of the reasons why I loved the Twitch Sings so much, because with the duet feature, it wasn't 100% live interaction, but it was really as close as I could get. And I had certain people that I would record seeds specifically because I knew that they wanted to sing that song with me. And so, despite the fact that we were recording it at the different times, it was I knew what they were going to sound like when they did record it. And I had people that would record seeds, wanting me to sing with them as well. I even during Christmas time, I would do this thing where they had this kind of really nice jazzy version of. Can't even remember which it was. A Christmas is a song that I can't remember. It was this real nice kind of 5/4 jazz version of a Christmas is a song, and I created a seed where I didn't sing the song at all. I just improvised. And the nice thing about Twitch Sings is it would actually split up the songs for duets. It would tell you when to sing and it would tell someone else. And I just didn't follow the words or anything like that. And I just improvised. And I got a couple different people to improvise with me. People that had never done it before. I remember this one girl. I would sing seeds with her, and there were certain songs that I would sing, like Sunday Morning was one of my standards by Maroon 5. And the reason I liked it so much is I could improvise in the middle and at the end. So I would, I'd go off on a tangent. And this girl used to we would do it all the time, and I always caught her streams, and we really really enjoyed singing together. And I finally, because something that used to happen on to the Twitch Sings is you would have a queue for people to sing with you, because when Twitch Sings got big, people would just show up in other people's streams and ask them to duet with them. It was a way for you to get bigger on Twitch Sings, and it turned into this whole thing. And the biggest names on Twitch Sings would have queues, because there was no way that, when you had 100, 200 people in in your audience, and they all wanted to sing with you, where each song is 3 to 4 minutes apiece. You're never going to be able to get through all of them. It's just, so you'd use this queue system. And so anytime I would and most smaller streamers and even me eventually adopted queues using their chat bots. And so I'd show up in this girl's queue all the time. And anytime you'd show up in her queue, she'd go, "Okay, what do you want me to sing with you?" And I finally convinced her. I said, "Hey, would you sing this song?" She's like, I said, it's all improv, it's all scat. She's like, "Oh, I don't know, I've never done that before." I said, "I know, but it's not as hard as it sounds." She's like, "Well, I don't think I could do it." I said, "You can. You can totally do it. It's the hardest thing about improvisation. The most difficult thing in the world is doing it. Once you're doing it, one of the most useful things I ever learned about jazz music is there are no wrong notes in jazz. There are simply ones that sound better. And sometimes you don't want the note you're playing to sound good. You want to create tension and dissonance so you can resolve it. So you can play every note in a jazz solo. And the same is true about improvisations. Now, there are techniques and things like that that you learn eventually about how you can insert the quote-unquote wrong notes in there without it sounding like you made a mistake or anything like that. But generally, the most important thing for you to do is act like you mean to do it on purpose, and then people will just go, "Wow, that's some really interesting stuff. That's like that's like 13 tone style, stuff." And then you're just, yes, it's exactly what it is. So anyway, I got this girl to agree to do it, and it was incredible because, again, I'd recorded it, days, weeks before. But I'm sitting in her chat on Twitch, and I'm watching her extremely shy and worried about what she's gonna do, and then she starts singing. And at first she's really hesitant and she doesn't know what to do, and then she just kind of lets herself go, and she starts feeling the music and just kind of singing along with it, and it turned into something magical. Just the most amazing thing in the world. And for just the littlest bit, I got that hit of creating with someone. That was one of the reasons why I was so sad and mad, to be honest, when Twitch Sings died. Because Twitch Sings was completely unique in the space. It was the first time I'd ever seen onto the Twitch people literally like roaming around Twitch to go into someone else's stream and compliment them and try to create something with them. Everything else, if you saw people roaming around to the Twitch, they were going to harass someone. And we've seen that come back with a vengeance. But during Twitch Sings, you had an entire community of people that would go around and just try to encourage each other to sing. Even when you had people that couldn't carry a tune in a bucket, and you sang with them, you would always find this is something nice. You go, wow, you've got a lot of power in your voice. Or, wow, that was a really interesting interpretation of that. You never cut people down or anything like that. Well, most of us didn't. There was drama in the Twitch Streams community every so often, but it tended to fizzle out pretty quickly, because it was just this incredible supportive community, and that's what the creation community really is. People that want to create something interesting with other people are going to be supportive, because the only way you can create with other people is if other people want to create with you. And the only way you're going to get better at it is other people getting better at it with you. So it's this incredibly supportive ideal. And I'm going to miss it so much. I miss singing with people. I miss creating things with people. I miss interactions. Despite the fact that with all my anxieties and things like that, again, I don't leave my room. This is what you see behind me. This is literally the entirety of my life, is this little area right here. And you guys can't see, but behind my computer is like my bed, and the rest of my bedroom is literally right there. That is the entirety of my life. I can't leave this room because of my agoraphobia and social anxiety and panic disorder. But when Twitch Sings was a thing, I felt like I could leave, and I had an even smaller place back then, because we hadn't moved here yet. And so literally back then I literally just had this place that was literally just about as wide as this chair effectively, and that was it. Because I had this chair, and then my bed was right there, and the rest of my room was just covered in junk and things like that, because I'm very messy. And that was the entirety of my life, was I went from my bed to my computer and then back to my bed, and every so often I could go to the bathroom. That was the entirety of my life, and it sucked. And now that I'm in a slightly bigger place, it's nice. I can walk. My bedroom is large enough that I can actually pace a little bit in it. But yeah, wow. So yeah, I really miss making music with people. It's I am not someone that enjoys getting high. I don't like, probably because of my one of my brain's go-to defense mechanisms is dissociation. Specifically, it really likes derealization and depersonalization. So if I feel like my brain is fuzzy and stuff like that's super uncomfortable to me, because I feel like I'm having a psychotic break, because that's normally what it means. But creating music with people, like there is a high you get off it. It's endorphins and dopamine, and it feels so good. Like, I know what you're thinking. Better in every way, shape, and form. it is a wholly unique experience. And I really, really miss it. Especially since I was just spoiled growing up where I did, because the teachers I had in high school were not, the band teachers at least, were not just talented and skilled teachers. They were so incredibly knowledgeable and such incredible musicians. And I grew up with some of the finest instrumentalists I have ever met. 100%, were it not for the fact that being a professional instrumentalist is ungodly hard, and very little of it has anything to do with how skilled you are with your instrument. You have to be exceptional just to be considered for the auditions, and then everything after that is a lot of luck and being in the right place at the right time. Like, it's so hard. If that wasn't a thing, I know so many people that would be running their own bands by now, running their own orchestras. They were that talented. And so I was just surrounded. I was in this incredibly conducive environment for learning, and I was surrounded by masters, and I was 100% spoiled. I learned from just amazing, wonderful people. And when I went to college, I was again surrounded by just incredible people. The guy that ran the jazz band at Carroll, which is where I went the first time, when I dropped out of college. He one of the most phenomenal jazz composers I've ever met. We would play at least one of his original songs every concert, and they were always just incredible fun. One of my favorites, the song was called "Jazz Was a Cool Cat," and Rick Kirby is the guy's name. He may still teach there. I'm not 100% certain. But Mr. Kirby had a cat named Jazz. And so this song was meant to imitate a day in the life of a cat. And it was a jazz waltz. And so it started off really slow and dun, 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 and then it would pick up into this really fast, bun, dun, dun, ba-da, ba-da, do-da, ba-do, diddle-da, da-da-do-da-da. And it was really, really cool. And then it would end in this real slow, melancholy. It was the coolest song ever. That was where I first got to play Barry sax, which I adored. It was super fun. I had an absolute blast playing my sax. I got to play tenor in that band as well. I didn't get to sing with them, which upset me, but I miss making music with people. I really do. I wish it was something that I could still do, but I just can't. And it sucks. So, yeah, that's my little rant for today. Hope you guys are still having a good holiday season, and I will see you guys next time. All right, bye-bye.